Veterans Helping Veterans USA. Call 352-433-2320. We help veterans and their families with limited financial assistance, counseling, employment referrals, and a food and clothing bank. You can help in making a huge difference in the veterans' lives we serve by donating food, clothing, household items, or direct financial assistance. All donations are tax deductible. Veterans Helping Veterans USA. 352-433-2320. Thank you for your attention, and God bless America.
Each morning, we wake up thankful to live in a free nation with liberty and justice for all. But sometimes those liberties can be put in jeopardy, and you may have questions about what to do or who to call. Let Doc Blanchard of Blanchard, Miriam, Adele, and Kirkland help you find the answers. Attorneys at law since 1974 and located in downtown Ocala. If you have legal issues, don't go it alone. Call 352-732-7218. Blanchard, Miriam, Adele, and Kirkland, helping protect your liberties every day.
Now you've done it. Have you lost your mind? He's back. And you're listening again. A legend in his own mind. Don't believe me? Just ask him. Here's Tom Schmitz live on WOCA. The Source.
Welcome back to Ocala Talks. On a Monday, Galen Unoff from Life South joins us. Thanks to good folks at Palm Garden Health and Rehabilitation Center, located at 2700 Southwest 34th Street. They offer skilled nursing, physical, occupational, and speech therapy. If you have any questions on how they're handling the COVID-19 pandemic, give them a call at 352-854-6262. Also like to thank family-owned and operated Penn Flooring, serving Marion County for over 30-plus years. Penn Flooring owes every bit of their success, their unrivaled customer service. They do both commercial and residential flooring. Go see their showroom at 1201 Southwest 17th Street in Ocala, or give them a call at 352-351-3420. And, of course, we'd like to thank JustShip.net. They flipped the script on shipping. Before, you had to take your item, you had to box it up, you had to wrap it up, you had to package it up. You had to then go stand in line at the UPS store or the post office, wasting time and money. Now you can just go to JustShip.net, make an appointment for pickup for a small pickup fee plus postage. Just Ship will come get your item. You don't even have to box it up. They'll get your item. They'll wrap it up. They'll package it up. They'll go stand in line at the UPS store or the post office, saving you time and money. And as we know, time is money. So they save you money on top of money. JustShip.net. Galen, a guy who just retired, Tom Brady, who's got a new show, got a television show out that you said is a great watch. I believe it's on. Is it on Netflix? Is that where the show
No,
is?
it's on ESPN Plus.
It's on ESPN Plus. Okay, show there. Plus, with renewed because of his retirement and everything, a renewed search for him. He's one of the top searches on YouTube now. And there's some parental groups that are not happy with Tom Brady, and it goes back to what was a big deal in 2000. I remember in 2014, he actually did an interview with the Boston Globe, and he was asked about his use of the F word, and because he had used it a bunch, and back then, you know, he quelled that down. Well, now it's come back up again because these parental groups are saying, you know, almost every video on YouTube, the F-bomb's being dropped, blah, blah, blah. And they say he should do better because he has children and everything. And so he's had to address it again. He says, look, network television catches me when I'm in the heat of the battle. Okay? That's just part of the game. He said, I wish I did have a better mouth out there at times, but there's nothing that quite expresses the way I feel like the F word. I mean, it's in the heat of the moment, it gets across my point. Then he goes, look, I don't say it at home. It's pretty well filtered at the house, but blame CBS and NBC and the other networks for putting it on TV. Don't blame me. Well, now parents are like, but it came out of your mouth. What do you mean don't blame you? He said, look, we're not choir boys. I know that. But in the heat of the moment, words come out of our mouth on that field that you can't hold me accountable for as a father or as a good citizen of the community because it's in the heat of the moment. Who's right here, Galen? I know who I think's right, but who's right here? The Karens of the parental groups or Tom Brady?
Well, I think it's pretty easy. I mean, it's, you know, first of all, I think Charles Barkley got it right. Sports figures should not be your heroes and role models. Your parents should. And, I mean, this isn't a new problem. I remember being 7 or 8, and you watch some pitcher, or any other athlete, basketball player, miss a shot, and they curse. It happens. It's in the heat of battle. And I'll tell you a story that's directly related to it. So, my son, he missed a shot against Forest, right? He had a chance to tie the game, and afterwards he screamed the F word. After he said it, he looked dead at me and said, "I'm sorry." And I thought he was saying he was sorry he missed the shot. I was like, "What? Took the shot?" And then he goes, "Man, Dad, I didn't mean to do that. I'm sorry." Like, "What are you talking about? You missed." He goes, "Oh, you didn't hear me say the F word?" I said, "No." He goes, "Well, I'm sorry for that." I'm like, "I don't care about that either." Again, when you're in the heat of the battle, those kinds of things happen.
Yeah, my favorite quote by you.
And he's right. And by the way, he's right. Tom Brady, sometimes it is the perfect word, right? Sometimes it expresses exactly how you feel in every way. So, sorry. If that offends you, don't watch football. Don't watch any sporting event.
I couldn't agree more, because if you think Tom Brady said the F word, you would have never, ever wanted to watch me play football. And I'm talking about from 12-year-old Pop Warner on up.
And now, if I was Tom Schmidt's father, I would have talked about it. But that's about it.
We did have that conversation. I was 13 years old, and my dad goes, "Son, you got to stop with that word so much. Your mom's getting angry, and I have to hear it." I go, "But I learned it from her." He goes, "That doesn't seem to matter."
No. And again, anybody who's, I'm not saying everybody has said it, but I think there's been a time when everybody wants to say it. So,
and by the way, if you say fiddle faddle, but in your head you're saying the other word, you meant to say it. Okay, just don't start with "I've never said that word." In your mind, you're like Jimmy Carter. I lusted for women in my mind, so I was unfaithful to Rosalind. You know what I mean?
Sure. Mother trucker, right? Yeah. That's another one. I was like, all right, well.
Yeah, we know what you meant.
Well, good for you.
We know what you meant.
Good for you.
One of my favorite quotes, you brought up Charles Barkley. One of my favorite quotes right along the line with Charles Barkley, he goes, because somebody got on him for saying SOB, the actual words, on the NBA postgame show at like 1 o'clock in the morning about 6-7 years ago. Somebody, they wanted TNT to get rid of him and everything. And Charles goes, "Look, if your kids are up at 1 o'clock in the morning and they hear me say that word and then they use it again, don't blame me. Your kids shouldn't be up that late. That just makes you crappy parents."
Yeah.
And I thought, because it was like an 11-year-old that used the word again, and he's like, if your 11-year-old's up at 1 in the morning, don't blame me for what they hear on TV. Blame yourself for being crappy parents, for them being up.
Yeah, I'm all about it. And again, they mouth it. The only reason the kids know what he's saying is because they've heard it. So
at the house.
Yeah, correct. As my mom says, if you have to curse, it means you have a small vocabulary.
Look, in a well-cultured Italian household, it's a verb, noun, adjective, adverb, participle, predicate. It's all of them.
I was in the United States Navy, right?
There's a reason people say "mouth of a sailor."
Yeah, you could not complete a sentence. And I remember when I got home after I got out of the Navy, my dad, he goes, "Son, you're cursing way too much." And I think I said, "What the F are you talking about?" He goes, and I said, because you don't even realize you say it anymore. It just becomes a part of your vocabulary. So, and I'm not condoning it, but it is part of that culture, and it's used in locker rooms, right? It's as people would say, maybe the president would agree, it's guy talk.
I'm watching. I'm actually went and because I wanted to get the quote right, so I went and found it on the Charles Barkley. So I'm looking at quotes of Charles Barkley. This may be the greatest quote, and I never knew Charles Barkley said it. I do not use words liberal or conservative. You can ask me a question, I'll give you an answer. Liberal and conservative words rich people on television use to divide and conquer. That's a pretty good quote. I like that quote.
Sure.
That's a pretty good quote.
Charles
Barkley.
Did you see that Shaq is under all kinds of fire, and there are people trying to get him fired off of that TNT show because he believes that vax mandates are wrong. I mean, you know, when you talk against the machine, you know, the machine is going to try to squelch you, and that's where we're at in our society.
Well, Shaq is now backed off.
That's cancelable.
Shaq's now backed off of those.
He had to, right? And again, I mean, you can no longer speak your mind without consequences. And again, I understand there are always consequences for your words and for your actions. But now it's anything counterculture. I mean, look what they did to Joe Rogan, the guy who gets 11 million downloads per episode, and you know they're trying to cancel him to the point where they removed a bunch of his old episodes again.
Yeah.
Again, censorship is alive and well in the United States.
Yeah, Shaq's taking some heat for that. You know, and that's the thing. All of this is drawing lines in the sand. You're either on this side or that side. It's not. It's all. And they want it to be black and white, and it's not black and white. Because by the way, I got the vaccine, Pfizer, 2 shots. So I'm not against vaccines because I chose to get the vaccine. But I'm against people telling me, the government telling me I have to get the vaccine. But I got the vaccine anyway. You know, I'm really a conundrum for them because I'm against mandates, but I got the vaccine.
No, but I think most people are like, if you want to get the shot, get the shot.
Get it.
You shouldn't have to. You shouldn't be required to get the shot for work. You know, to work or to travel. Do you remember when the state of California was like, well, in order to enter the state, you're going to have to be vaccinated?
What? I think that anytime,
what are we doing?
Anytime you must show your papers, I got a problem with that because all I see is what was the guy from Laugh-In, Artie? What was his last name?
Laugh-In was before my time.
Yeah, it was Artie. I forget his, and it's not Artie Lang, and that's all I'm hearing in my head. But it was Artie.
Artie Lang was from.
Dadgummit, I forget the guy's name, but he would always dress up as a German soldier and say, "Where's your papers? Where's your papers?" And so I always associate that. So that's what I've done with this is, you know, the vaccine card. Where's your papers? It just seems asinine, and I'm laughing about it, but it's not funny. This is where we are, is people are getting canceled for their opinions. People are getting canceled for making fun of what other people don't accept as truth or you know, and both sides are saying follow the science, but I don't think either side knows what the hell the science is. Because let's be succinct about this. I think the science changes on a daily and weekly basis as they learn more and they do more research. I don't think anybody knows what the actual science is. I think it changes too often.
Absolutely. Well, and I'll tell you the perfect example is before the vaccine would prevent you from getting COVID, right? Then it changed to, well, you just won't get it as bad.
Right.
And then it became, well, you won't be hospitalized. Then it was, it won't kill you.
Just as the
if you get COVID, it won't kill you.
And it evolves just the way the AIDS vaccine, the AIDS epidemic did. Remember, when AIDS first come out, this was only something that affected gay men. Nobody else was nobody else could get AIDS. It was only something that affected gay men. And, you know, as long as you weren't a gay man having intercourse, you were safe from the virus. Well, guess what? That was a lie. We found out, but they didn't know it was a lie at the time. That's what they thought. We found out through more investigation and all, more science being done, that anybody could get the HIV virus. So, you know, as it evolved, we now know more about. Do you remember the and I forget the kid's name, but he's from Pennsylvania, that got the blood transfusion, and parents were suing their school system and everything because they didn't want him to be allowed in the school system because he had the HIV virus in him. I forget that kid's name, and he ended up passing away from the AIDS virus. But there were people that sued school districts because the science at the time told him that, you know, if he shook your hand, you might get AIDS. Well, we learned from that.
There's a quote, and they have Anthony Fauci, who made millions and millions off of the AIDS, whatever you want to call it, AIDS virus. He said early on that, yes, you can spread AIDS by shaking hands. He's on tape saying that.
Well, they thought that originally.
Fauci's been wrong. Yeah, my point is Fauci's been wrong for a very, very, very long time.
Well, in the world of science, you're wrong more than you're right. That's why they're called hypotheses. That's why they're called hypotheses and theories. But the problem is the general public thinks that science, if a scientist says it, it must be right. By nature,
correct.
If a scientist says it, take it with a grain of salt because there's still more they're going to do. Correct. They can find out more information later. That's why it's called hypothesis and theories. And you know, that's what we learn about the scientific method early on in school is there are no definitives. They continue to work. That's why it's called science and experiments. That's why they do experiments. That's why experimental is a word we use, because science is ever evolving.
Well,
and I think we've lost that concept.
And the only way you can prove a truth is by continuing to prove it, that it's true. And so when you question things, whether the origin of this virus or the effectiveness of vaccines, do you remember when they were talking about, the vaccine's 100% effective, and then it was lowered to now I think it's 45% effective, and now it doesn't even work against Omicron until your fourth booster. You know, and remember, natural antibodies were not as effective as a vaccine.
Right.
I remember that going, that doesn't pass the smell test. That's not true in any other virus that man has ever fought against.
Well, you know,
natural immunity has always been the best. And then it was like, no. The stuff I created in a petri dish that I'm guessing at is much more effective.
I don't know.
And then the World Health Organization had to come out and say, no, we were completely wrong. Natural immunity is the best.
I don't know if you saw this, but Australia's opening back up. They're opening its borders back up to international travel, but you have to be double vaccinated to get in.
Yeah. Well, and again, they're not a free country. They don't have guns, right? Canada doesn't have guns. And so, and the people in Australia are just taking it.
Look, hold on,
that's
Galen.
why
Galen,
they're calling the trucker convoy an occupation in Canada.
Galen, hold on.
So,
Galen, you said they don't have guns in Canada and Australia. Look, we have guns in this country. And haven't you heard Joe Biden said that the problem is we don't have enough gun regulation or gun laws. That's why guns are rampant and out of control in this country. And we need more laws like Canada has, and we need more laws like Australia has, because we have an epidemic of vast proportion here called gun violence. And more laws are what we need to quell the gun violence. Come on now, you listen to the news. You know these things.
Yeah, and I also know that when I was in elementary school, we were taught how to fire guns. Right? We were taught gun safety.
We were taught bow and arrows in elementary school on the playground. We were taught how to use weapons. We drove I went to high school. Chuck Lepley would carry his guns in the back of his Ford F-150 because the band got to use the field before we went to practice. So Chuck could go get in the tree stand for 2 hours after school before he'd come to football practice.
Yeah, and now you can't even have a tackle box in your car in school because,
it's got hooks in it. It's got hooks in it. Those can be used as a weapon.
I mean, again, we've. You create these. We could talk about that all day.
Yeah.
And by the way, I can't stand all these school shootings. I think it makes me sick to my stomach, just like everyone else. But taking away you can never get away with any weapon.
Look.
Remember how Cain killed Abel?
Yeah.
I tell people that all the time. Remember how Cain killed Abel.
I never
There's
once.
no gun.
I never once thought about shooting up a high school. And look, there were times I'm an angry guy. There were times I was mad enough where I just walked up to a guy in the hallway and didn't even say, "Hey, you." I just tapped him on the shoulder. He turned around. He saw it was me. I let him see it was me, so he didn't say that I sucker punched him. And then I would just knock people unconscious that aggravated me. That's what I did.
Oh, that's not healthy.
No, that's what I did, though. But nobody ever went to a truck and got a gun. Nobody ever shot up a school when I was in school or anything. You know why? Because we had a healthy fear of the parental people that gave us those guns, that gave them this as presents, taught us to use them. I was so scared when I was a kid with a 410 shotgun to shoot anybody, not because I thought it was wrong to shoot people. I was angry enough I'd have shot people if it placed itself. But I wasn't messing with Smitty Schmitz. That was the problem. I wasn't messing with the little fire plug that would come in, stuff that 410 up my rectum and pull the trigger. That's probably what would happen. So I didn't mess with that guy because I was scared of him. There's something to say about a healthy scare. There's something to say about a healthy fear of your parents.
Well, I think your fear should also come from God.
Yeah.
And I think we've lost that as a society.
You're right. Hey,
Fear
speaking of something that's been lost, the NFL has lost its way with the Rooney Rule because it's in place to make sure African Americans or people of color get their good opportunities to be head coaches, general managers, everything. Well, who's Mike McDaniel? They say he's of color. I heard he's a guy of color, but he doesn't look like it to me. And first off, who is Mike McDaniel? Is he more prepared than Eric Bieniemy or Byron Leftwich? Because Mike McDaniel, who was the offense coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers, he didn't call the plays. Shanahan called the plays. So as an offensive coordinator, how much experience does he have? I mean, this Rooney Rule looks more and more of a sham every time I look at it, Galen.
Well, when was it not a sham?
I can't argue that point.
No, see, and that's the issue. It's always been a problem. It's never been. You should, again, just like every other job, whether it's the Supreme Court or the coach of the Jaguars, you should just hire the right person for the job, the person you feel is going to do the best job in that position.
They say he's the first minority. Is he? I'm missing it. Is he of Mexican descent? I'm missing the minority.
I don't know.
His name's Michael McDaniel.
I'm sure we'll hear all about it.
Michael McDaniel, does that make him Irish? I don't understand. Maybe I'm missing something here.
I have no idea.
Maybe I'm missing something here. But, regardless, it's a guy I've never heard of. I had no idea Mike McDaniel. I had no idea who this guy was, and I follow football. How's he, better than these headliners that you know, or these headliners that you know only getting their name out there because of the Rooney Rule and, hey, these are the top two coordinators that are African American? These are the questions that I think need to be asked to the NFL.
Why? Why can't you just
because
hire
they're not hiring? Because I agree with you. But then why is the Rooney Rule is just there to make sure that we keep our status as a nonprofit, that we keep Congress happy with us and everything? That it's a sham, and it should be called that by everybody that talks about it.
Well, I don't know when it wasn't a sham.
You and I say that,
that's my
but
whole point.
You and I say that, but everybody.
Who did? There's nobody who follows football thinks that the Rooney Rule is effective, right? At getting. At the most it does is it exposes certain individuals and gets them practice at doing interviews. At the most, that's what it does.
That's all it does. Not at the most. I would argue that's all it does. So, and then here's what gets me. They get 2 third-round picks because he was the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, that's kind of kooky. That I saw. I was like, ooh, okay. Well, good for you.
Yeah,
it's compensatory, compensation.
What is it? Third round compensatory pick. It's the third round. 2 third-round compensatory picks they had to give up for Mike McDaniels being hired.
Well, the good news is the NFL is almost over, and we won't have to talk about it. I'm kind of done with it.
And what
My
we do
Bucks
need to
are
talk about, but we
terrible
can't.
again. What are
What
we
we
gonna
do need to talk about, but we can't today, but we'll talk about it this week, is the impending the lockout that's happening with this work stoppage in baseball. But we'll talk about that later. Right now, we need to talk about where is the Bloodmobile today on this foggy, overcast day that's going to clear up, though. So when it clears up, or right now, go see the Bloodmobile. Where's it at?
Hey, today we're up in Bellevue, right there on Absher Boulevard, right near the CVS. So come see, Walgreens. Come see us there. But as always, right on the boulevard in Ocala, 1607 East Silver Springs Boulevard. Check us out at lifesouth.org. Give blood.
Galen, you know, he joins us every day, brought to you by the good folks at Palm Garden Health and Rehabilitation Center, Penn Flooring, and JustShip.net. Galen, talk to you tomorrow.
Bye, y'all.
We'll be right back with Chief of Police Mike Balkin from the Ocala Police Department. After this timeout on 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, you're listening to WOCA, The Source.
Broadcasting from the Ocala International Airport, this is WOCA AM, W242CA FM, Ocala, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
USA Radio News with Lance Pride.
Up in Canada, Ottawa declared a state of emergency on Sunday in response to thousands turning out for a second weekend of demonstrations against COVID-19 public mandates, blocking roads and disrupting parts of the capital city. A GoFundMe campaign to support truckers was canceled by GFM, saying they will refund all the money donated. President Biden and French President Emmanuel Macron discussed in a phone call Sunday ongoing diplomatic and deterrence efforts in response to Russia's military buildup along Ukraine's border. Macron is due to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Moscow on Monday, and then Ukraine's President Zelensky in Kyiv on Tuesday. Democrat Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia on CNN Sunday endorsed the re-election campaign of his Republican colleague Lisa Murkowski of Alaska.
Endorsing my dear friend Lisa Murkowski. Alaska could only be so lucky to have her continue to serve them.
Thank you.
USA Radio News.
Guys, are you tired of being tired? Frustrated because it seems impossible to lose belly fat? If you're looking for a solution, then listen to Mark.
I had fantastic results with the Andro 400 Max. Probably lost 35 pounds, and more impressive than that was the inches I lost off of my belly and my waist. And the increased energy is fantastic. I'll be totally honest, I tried a different product, and I wasn't happy with the different product. You guys are considerably cheaper than the other brand, and I can really feel the difference.
Andro 400 Max, the extra strength, all natural testosterone booster. The safe, easy, and affordable way to gain energy and lose stubborn belly fat. Satisfaction guaranteed or your money back. Feel and look like a new man. Go to andro400.com or call 888-400-0435. 888-400-0435.
It's time for Farm and Ranch headlines on the Southeast AgNet. I'm Randall Wiseman in for Tyron Spearman. Well, during last week's Alabama-Florida Peanut Trade Show, one issue discussed by many is the rising cost of inputs. Clint Thompson was there and has the story.
Alabama and Florida peanut producers reunited on Thursday in Dothan, Alabama for their annual trade show event. At the forefront of farmers' minds ahead of planting this year's crops are the extremely high input costs. Jacob Davis, executive director of the Alabama Peanut Producers Association, said growers are trying to hit a moving target with locking down input expenses.
Every time they check on input costs, they get a different price, and it seems like it's going up. They're trying to look at whether or not they can break even on the crop or make a profit even, and it's just hard to do that when you're trying to hit a moving target.
Fertilizer prices are as high as 95 cents per pound for nitrogen. Despite the high cost, farmers remain optimistic, says Ken Barton, executive director of the Florida Peanut Producers Association.
But I can tell you there's growing optimism within the farm community that we do have some better pricing for our commodities at the point, and there's optimism that these input costs will moderate some by the time we will need to start buying the bulk of those products.
For more information, see SoutheastAgNet.com. For Southeast Ag